And I guess since we don't have a video, I identify myself. I'm Mark Larkin, chairman here, and we will call this meeting to order at, and that actually is what I have. I got 3 minutes after 2 on Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. So first of all, thanks for calling in and everyone. And if we can, like I said, I'm Mark Larkin, the chair, and everybody else want to kind of identify yourselves so we know who's there.
It's Ron Fish, GUAC.
It's Gary Bradshaw, Vice Chair in GUAC.
Come on, DWR, I know you're out there.
This is Kennedy Shepard with ADWR.
Hello, this is Kyle Miller with ADWR.
This is Melissa Sykes with ADWR.
This is Amanda Long from ADWR.
Hello, everyone. This is Nemesis Ortiz-Cut with ADWR.
And I believe that is all of us.
Geez, that's enough. I mean, the agency just overwhelms us here. So, okay, with that, and then in the audience, I guess we got Eric Holler.
Yeah, Eric Holler here, citizen.
Oh, okay, great. I'm glad you can make it. And generally, and we will have a call to the public, but I'll tell you on something like this down here is if something comes up in the middle of this, if you got some questions or anything like that, I guess you just go like, hey Mark, and we'll be able to sort of recognize you. But otherwise, we will also have a call to the public.
Excellent, thank you.
At the end of this. So anyway, with that being said, I guess, Kennedy, we can turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. So just a few things before I get started, some webinar logistics. We do ask that members of the public please keep their phone muted during the meeting. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the chat box and we will read and address them at the end of the presentation. And like Mark said, during the call to public, we will have an option for you to speak to the council, so you feel free to unmute yourself and address them. If you are having any technical difficulties, our help desk is available to you. Their contact information is on the screen, and this meeting is being recorded and should be posted to the website either later this week or early next week. And that is all I have.
Okay, and then so I guess we've got a current activities update from Kyle here as item number 3. So I guess without further ado, go ahead and let us know what DWR's been up to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the council. It's good to be with you guys today. I know it's been a little while since we've had a meeting, so I appreciate you taking the time to meet with us and hear what we've been up to. Since it's been a little bit of time, I thought we would start by going over some staffing changes that we've experienced since our last meeting. As you know, Anop Henningsen has left the Department of Water Resources so that she could return to Israel to be with her family. It's really sad for us to see her go, but happy that she has the opportunity to go home. I'll be taking on her responsibilities as one of 2 new AMA directors, and I'm looking forward to working with you in this new role. Natalie Mast has also been promoted to AMA director, and she's going to continue to focus on the management plans there. We also have new AMA leadership below myself and Natalie. James Dekoff has been promoted to the AMA data and planning manager position, and he's been with the department for a little over 7 years and has really strong data skills, and we think he's going to be really valuable for our group moving forward. Lori Kaysen was with the department and the state for about 30 years. She has retired, and in her place, Caitlin Parker has been named AMA Program Supervisor. Caitlin's going to oversee the Community Water Systems Program, Drought and Conservation, our annual reporting processes, and we're really looking forward to her experience and what she's going to bring to that role. And we've also had several other staffing changes in the department as people have moved up and moved on out of the section. So So I wanted to take the opportunity to provide this org chart so that you could review it and have that information handy. If you have any questions for the department, you'll be able to know who to contact and who to reach out to at the department. This is also going to be posted on our website, so if you have any stakeholders that are interested in seeing this, you can direct them there, and we can also send it out to the meeting if you like. Next, I will provide an update on our statewide 2019 water use numbers. Thank you. So before I do that, I just want to give you an overview of what data we're using to calculate those estimates. Our statewide use estimates are a combination of reported data and data from other sources. So when we're talking about reported data, we're referring to our AMA annual reports that we're collecting each year, currently in the middle of that process now. So users with wells greater than 35 gallons per minute pump capacity inside the AMAs and INAs, as you know, are required to meter their pumping, and those who are subject to reporting requirements have to file those annual reports with us. Those reports include a broad range of information, which varies by the type of right or the type of water user, but generally we're asking for things like the volumes of water pumped or received, and then what happens to that water once it's been pumped and received. We do have certain reporting requirements that are laid out in statute, but the department has authority to require additional information in those reports as necessary to accomplishing the goals of each of the 5 AMAs. And as you know, those annual reports are due March 31st of every year, but that doesn't mean the data is immediately available thereafter. So some of our annual reports are able to be submitted online, but a lot of our users still like to submit paper copies, or as has been the case with COVID over the last year, they like to submit those through email. And in those cases, the data from those reports has to be manually entered into our database, so it takes a little bit longer, a couple months to get through all that. Our staff work through the data entry, conduct quality checks on the data, and work to compile and store that in a number of different ways. And what you have here on your screen is kind of a representation of how we are getting to those statewide use estimates. Compiled data from each sector feeds into total supply and demand templates for each of the AMAs. And then the data from each of the AMAs is combined and added to information from outside the AMAs to get to that statewide use number each year. And that's a long and detailed process, but something we target to have completed by about the 1st of November of every year, pretty much just in time to get ready for the next annual reporting season. So we know our reported data is incomplete, and that means we're piecing together reported data from those annual reports and data from other sources in order to do an analysis, or in this case, to calculate our statewide estimates. This is a slide just listing some typical examples of other data we're using. We create estimates of tribal demands and demands from exempt wells so that we can better understand water usage inside the AMAs. We get information and data from the Bureau of Reclamation to better understand total Colorado River uses, and information from the USGS regarding water use estimates for outside the AMAs. We also collect census data and Bureau of Economic Analysis data, and that goes into what we call the director's chart, one of our most popular charts, showing water use in the state over time as compared to population growth and economic growth. So with that all being said, let's take a look at the numbers here. This chart is showing demand by sector for 2019 compared to 2018 for the state. And these numbers don't really change that much year to year. And you can see they've held pretty steady from 2018 to 2019. One thing I just want to point out here is that the 2019 total demand is just below 6.9 million acre feet for the statewide estimate. And that's compared to slightly over 7 million acre feet for the 2018 number. Moving on, and this chart is similar to the previous chart showing 2018 and 2019, this time focusing on supply by water type. And again, these don't really change that much year to year. Surface water can have some variability if we get a nice winter, whatever those are like. One thing I'm happy to highlight here is the increase in effluent use year over year from 2018 to 2019. And it looks like it's only 1% on these charts, but if you dig into the actual data, it's an increase of about 20,000 acre feet of effluent use across the AMAs year over year. So that's a big step, something we're really happy about, and that builds on another large increase we saw during the 2018 annual year. Focusing on your AMA, here we have the Santa Cruz 2019 demand numbers, and these total out to 13,235 acre feet for the 2019 calendar year. and that's a decrease of 1,707 acre-feet from 2018, so a little downward trend there. About half of the Santa Cruz AMA's demands are from the agricultural sector, and an additional 46% are coming from the municipal sector, the remaining being industrial. These numbers are pretty stable year to year. I've also included on the upper right-hand side of the page an AMA data sharing page link. We update that page with all of this data, previous years, individual sector data, so you can dig a little bit deeper into it and get some more detailed information if you're interested in that. But that completes our 2019 statewide use updates, and I have a few more things I'd like to cover, but I will pause here for any questions.
I don't hear any unless anything's coming through the chat. So I think you can go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. We don't see anything in the chat, so I will move on. We are currently in the middle of our annual reporting season for the calendar year 2020 water use. So like I said, we finish our statewide numbers and then get right back to it. We typically receive over 6,000 annual reports during this period, so it's the busiest time of the year for us. Of that 6,000, we get almost 200 from the Santa Cruz AMA, so one of the smaller AMAs, but happy to help. You may have noticed the last couple of weeks we've been sending out reminder letters and reminder emails, and those are part of our efforts to decrease our failure to file numbers from previous years. We're trying to get as much data as we can to help with our planning processes and improve, especially for the fifth management plan moving forward. We're continuing to make incremental improvements in those annual reporting processes, including continuing our online reporting tool, which you can see on your screen here. And if you'll notice, there's a blue button in the middle that says File an Annual Report. One thing you can do this year is click that button, enter your right number and your email address, and at that point you'll have the option to either file your report online if it's available, and if that is not online yet, you'll have the option to send a PDF copy of your annual reporting forms to your email address. So you can get those forms at any point. You don't need to wait for us to call you back or wait for us to send you an email. You can get them at any time you like. So like I said, those reports are due on March 31st, and I'll provide an update on our reporting season at our next meeting. Lastly, I want to touch on the Governor's Water Augmentation, Innovation, and Conservation Council. That council continues to meet virtually, and I just want to reiterate, in case anyone hasn't heard this before, the council is charged with a number of items. Most significantly is identifying and recommending opportunities for water augmentation, innovation, and conservation for the state of Arizona. The council is also tasked with providing guidance to the ADWR director upon his request. And since our last meeting, the council has participated in 3 meetings. Arizona's tribal community met with the council to discuss water rights and settlements at a special meeting on September 10th. And the council held its regularly scheduled meetings on September 15th and December 1st. In the most recent full council meeting on December 1st, the council received updates from each of the 4 committees, an overview of our groundwater conservation grant process, and a drought status update from Nemesis, similar to the one she's going to present here today. The next meeting for that full council is scheduled for March 19th from 8 to 10 a.m. The council does have 4 committees, and those committee meetings are where much of the council's work is accomplished. Those meetings are all open to the public, and they include council and non-council members, and there's no formal membership. So I just want to encourage anyone who's interested in contributing to attend and participate in those discussions. And I'll also make note that all of those meetings are recorded for the council and the committees and are available on our website. So if you're interested at all, you can catch up online if you can't attend, or you can just listen to them afterward if you like. We currently have committee meetings scheduled for the post-2025 AMA committee, and that's on February 9th from 10 to 12. And the long-term water augmentation committee meeting is scheduled from March 12th, or for March 12th from 10 to 12. So that concludes the state update, but I will pause. I'll take any questions you have.
Okay, I don't, go ahead.
Oh, I was just sorry. There's one question in the chat from Eric Holler. What are the 4 committees?
The 4 committees are, let me pull those out for you. We have the Long-Term Water Augmentation Committee, the Post-2025 AMA Committee, we have a desalination committee and a non-AMA's groundwater committee.
Thank you.
And just for clarification for anybody, and these are in addition to the committees and the working groups that are discussing the fifth management plan?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Sure. Okay, Ms. Ortiz-Teclet, I think you are on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. My name is Nemesis Ortiz-Teclet, and I am the Drought and Conservation Programs Coordinator for the Arizona Department of Water Resources. If you can go to the next slide, please. We have here, I'm going to talk to you and provide a description and compare drought conditions for water years 2019 versus water year 2020. I will also describe long-term drought status throughout calendar year 2020 and show you what precipitation looked like for the beginning of water year 2021, which is the one we are currently in. Then I will show the most recent short-term drought conditions and explain conditions from the last week, show what the forecast is, and show what the forecast is for the next few months. And I will also briefly talk about the 2020 Arizona Drought Preparedness Annual Report. Next slide, please. So in the slide, we have the seasonal precipitation maps for the Colorado River watershed for total water year 2019 versus water year 2020. Water years start on October 1st and end on September 30th. Water year 2019 started in 2018, which was an extremely dry year and was followed by a very wet winter that reduced drought throughout the Colorado River watershed. On the left side map, there are green and blue colors throughout the upper and lower basin, which indicate about 100% to 150% of average precipitation was received in the watershed. This means that precipitation conditions were really good for water year 2019 period. On the right side, we have the Colorado River watershed map for water year 2020, which started after a dry monsoon season in 2019 and was also followed by a wet winter. However, it did not do as well as the previous water year, as is presented by the orange and red colors throughout the watershed, which indicate that those areas received about 50%, 89% of average seasonal precipitation. Next slide, please. And part of the reason why water year 2020 did not do as well as the previous water year was because of the record-breaking high summer temperatures and low precipitation. This past monsoon, specifically July through September, represents the warmest on record for most of the state. And this is shown by the red color on the map on the left. The orange color represents those much above normal temperatures at the top 10 percentile. And these are places that almost broke temperature records as well. It was also the record driest monsoon for most of Arizona. As you can see, the red color on the right side map. It was also record driest for the orange places on the map. And this was quite significant. And we will see how drought conditions were impacted by these trends. Next slide, please. This slide shows long-term drought maps that are developed by the state climatologist, Dr. Nancy Sullivan, on a quarterly basis. They are based on averages of 24, 36, and 48-month standard precipitation indices, or SPI, and standard precipitation and evaporation indices, or SPEI. On these maps, we can see how the year had a great start in terms of long-term drought, as we had a lot of good winter precipitation that reduced drought into the spring. This precipitation led to the filling of reservoirs throughout the lower Colorado River Basin and the Salt and Verde River reservoirs. only some northeastern parts of Arizona were under severe to extreme drought, and these are represented by the orange and bright red colors respectively. And there were also areas with abnormally dry conditions throughout the state, which are represented by the yellow colors on the map. The hot and dry summer contributed to an increase in drought conditions throughout the entire state, as can be seen on the top two right maps on the slide, which start to get bright red and dark red for extreme and exceptional drought. These increased drought conditions had the potential to increase the need for groundwater use and irrigation throughout Arizona, which in turn can increase pressure on the state's water supplies. Next slide, please. This map presents the percent of average precipitation for water year 2021 to December 31, 2020. And it shows how most of the state was under 50% of the average precipitation that is typically received in Arizona during this period. There was, however, some precipitation in the form of snow in Navajo Nation recently at the northeastern corner of Apache County throughout the Chusca Mountains. Next slide, please. Now, these are short-term drought status maps for the past 5 weeks, and these are developed on a weekly basis by the U.S. Drought Monitor. The difference between short and long-term drought status maps is that while long-term drought maps are based on 2, 3, and 4 year long average SPI and SPEIs, the short-term maps use the average SPI and SPEIs among other information from the previous 4 weeks. Now, July is not on this slide, but it was one of the hottest and driest months of July on record for Arizona, and much of the Southwest. This contributed to the monsoon being pretty much non-existent last year, and that led to an increase in drought conditions. As you can see, the colors going from cream and orange, which represent moderate and severe drought, to bright red, which is extreme drought, and then dark red or maroon, which is exceptional drought. While the fall and early winter continue the dry conditions trend that started even before the summer of 2020, there has been some beneficial precipitation in the last few weeks. Next slide, please. And this is the map for right now as of January 26, 2021. This is what short-term drought looks like. The most recent storms that passed through the state improved conditions in central Arizona, particularly along the Mogollon Rim. Exceptional drought, represented by the dark red, covered about 73% of the state at the end of December, and now covers 58%, which is a great improvement. And moderate and severe drought, represented by the cream and orange colors and the southwestern corner of Arizona, cover now 3% and 4% of the state, respectively. While there were some improvements, exceptional drought still covers about 35% of the state, compared to 21% at the end of December. On the map, Santa Cruz is shown to be currently under extreme drought, and some northern parts of the county are under exceptional drought. And these conditions may result in crop or pasture losses and water shortages. The U.S. Drought Monitor will publish their most up-to-date short-term drought status map for the state tomorrow morning, and it will consider precipitation that was received this past week. This will be the map that ADWR will share along with a summary through the ADWR drought status website this or next week. Next slide. This slide presents the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's U.S. seasonal drought outlook, which indicates that drought is likely to persist in Arizona through April 30th, 2021. And as can be seen on the map, most southwestern states throughout the Colorado River Basin are also brown, indicating the presence of drought throughout the spring. Next slide, please. And this is some information for those interested. ADWR is required to submit an annual drought report to the governor's office by the end of the fiscal year for the previous water year. The 2020 drought report covers drought conditions and preparedness activities for the 2020 water year, which is from October 1st, 2019 to September 30th, 2020. And the report includes a summary of Arizona's drought status in the past water year, outlook for the next water year, drought designation information, and highlights of drought conditions and preparedness activities, which include water supply, the state's drought monitoring technical committee and interagency coordinating group efforts, drought planning for community water systems, local drought impact groups activities, among other information. The 2020 report is currently published on the ADWR drought webpage, and anyone interested can access it. Next slide, please. And with that, I will take any questions, and I can be contacted via email for more information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I do wish we had somebody from the city here at this one, just to kind of get an update on what their well levels were and everything, because this has been kind of dry. But Ron or Gary, have you guys noticed any significant drop in like your static or dynamic water levels in your wells?
Not that I've measured, although I visited with, and I don't remember his name. I should. Is it Mark Perez that still does the monitoring of the wells? Is that right? Or
Mark.
Anyway, the person that was measuring the wells about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, I visited with him, and down close to the border, they were pretty well staying static, like at 14, 15 feet. But he said the rest of the wells going north, he said, were dropping 10 to 20 feet from the last time that he had measured. So there is pretty good significant drop in some places. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, particularly in that basin there, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, and one of the things, and I don't know how many people are aware of it, but like down there close to the border, the river itself is not running. There's no water in it. Although that Mascarenas development, housing and commercial development in Mexico, just across the line, they had put in that sewage plant there that was supposed to be very up to date, and they've been running water, affluent water across the line that goes down and eventually enters into Santa Cruz River, and that's been going on for several months. So I think that's has an effect of keeping the wells up right there along the border. But
that might down that what is it, Oso Wash or something?
Right, Oso Wash, yeah. It runs 24/7. No water out of there, and quite a bit too. So I don't know whether the National Geographic can't even pronounce right, comes down and measures their well, whether they're aware of that water that's running into there. That's what's keeping a lot of that up.
Yeah, I don't know, and that's interesting. You know what? Can you tell me, Ron? Do you actually see surface water get to the main stem of the Santa Cruz, or does it pretty much go underground up Oso Wash away?
No. It's from the Mexican border, and I mean you can't see anything south either. But from there up until the Oso Wash. It runs through the Johnson property. You remember Barbara Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Runs through her property, and then it comes up in behind the farm, the Santa Fe Ranch, or whatever you want to call it, Sedgwick property. And then the river's running a fair amount of water there for a while. But that's what's keeping it running is that affluent water.
Out of Mascarenas. Okay. And Gary, how about
we no longer drink the water out of the well.
You know what? Good coffee water needs body, so you got to do that. Gary, what about at the in the North County? Anything you noticed on the?
You know, the only ones that I've been staying real in touch with are a couple of folks I know that have irrigation wells east of the river, and then of course the Baca Float Water Company well. And yeah, they're not seeing any real drawdown. So now, as we all know, we had a pretty big event here. What was it, in August, where we had a tremendous amount of rain in a short period of time. So whether that gave us a short-term bump, I don't know, but we're not seeing anything real appreciable, at least from the few folks I've been talking to.
Okay, and we're kind of the same even north of there is it's down kind of long term, from where it was, say 5-6 years ago. Water tables are down, but not it hasn't taken there hasn't been a big dip over this last several months. So, seems to be kind of rolling along. Though again, we do have the treatment plant keeping that part of the reach wet. Anyway, so okay, good enough. Okay, thank you. And I guess on the WMAP updates, we can go to Melissa Sykes, please.
Actually, Mr. Chair, we do have a thing in the chat. Eric, you said you have a suggestion you want to ask?
Yeah, sorry, but this is actually a suggestion for Nemesis. Excellent slide, Nemesis. But what I'd like to see is maybe one slide. There are various graphics that come around showing the reservoirs and the storage within the reservoirs within Arizona, as well as the Colorado River watershed. So just one slide showing how the reservoirs are doing would kind of complete the picture for me as far as drought and long-term drought and drought conditions. So, and just a reminder to the folks that were talking about the treatment plants, discharging and keeping the surface water wet, that would be less of a worry for me, because that effluent discharge has to come from somewhere. So somebody pumped the water in Mexico. So just remember that. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Melissa.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll just be going over the WMAP withdrawal fee fund and the projects that we currently have, and also addressing the status of the DCP $2 million groundwater projects. So here we have just a chart showing the breakdown of the fees, of the withdrawal fees in the WMAP. For the WMAP, the admin and enforcement, and then I didn't put the total here. The total, which will be a $3 total for 2020 and 2021. And for the Water Management Assistance Program Fund, our current balance is $299,193, but we do have a committed $11,983, which leaves a remaining balance of $287,255. So if you know of anyone who's looking for funding for a groundwater conservation or augmentation project, definitely send them my way, because you guys have plenty of money in that AMA to have some projects. So we currently don't have any WMAP projects going at the moment, but we do have 2 groundwater conservation grant projects that you all already know about. We have a water conservation education and technology program through the city of Nogales, and the groundwater recharge on working lands by local youth to enhance ecosystems through the Borderlands Restoration Network. And the groundwater recharge project has already begun. That's where that $11,000 is going to be coming from, that's committed in the fund. That project is set to go until October 31st, 2025, and the city of Nogales contract is still in the drafting phase. That's all I have to go over with the WMAP stuff. Does anyone have any questions regarding any of the information we have portrayed here?
So you've got no contracts laying on the table that people are applying for at this time, huh?
No, there's nothing in the works for the Santa Cruz AMA.
That's a pretty good hunk of money sitting there, just kind of laying idle. But unless there's something worthwhile, I certainly don't want to spend it unless it's something worthwhile. So maybe
Yeah, we
maybe
would love to see some projects going on in that AMA.
I have a question, if I may.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Mr. Holly, go ahead.
This is Alejandro Barcenas.
Oh, hey, Alejandro, I'm glad you're there. I was just saying we needed somebody from the city.
Yeah, I got a little bit of problem. I went to the wrong browser and I was not getting in, so I'm combining this thing here with phone and computer. But my question is, I understand that the grant that we got, they're drafting the contract, but I think we have a deadline also to do the project. Do you know the time frame for this to be done?
Do you mean in terms of your finalized contract?
Yes.
I sent you the draft contract, so I was just waiting for you to send me any revisions and any additional details that I need to be able to finalize your contract.
Okay, so it's in my court now.
Yes, and I can give
Okay.
you a call, or we can set up a meeting if you need to do so I can help you go over that contract and we can finish it up.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Alejandro, and this is, you weren't in, and I kind of want to go back to this, as I asked, with the drought conditions, how everybody's, wells were doing. Got a report from Ron down on the border and Gary from up north. How are the city wells doing with this dry period?
We haven't noticed a big decline. They're going down a little bit, but not really going deep. So we haven't seen a lot of impact. And I don't know why, but because it's been really dry. Really dry, and that comment about the wastewater treatment plant in Mexico, there are 2 wastewater treatment plants in Mexico. They are discharging effluent, and that is a concern for us too. We have keeping an eye on the quality, and we haven't seen any issues so far.
Okay, that's good. And the same's true in Potrero. Not a lot of drawdown or anything.
No, matter of fact, Potrero is going up.
Oh,
Potrero is gaining a little bit, like 5 to 10 foot per year for the last few years.
Huh? That's good, because that section of the county was real kind of droughty this year on the range anyway. But oh, that's interesting. That is interesting.
You're still pumping as much water as what you had been? You haven't slowed down on the pumpage from that area, huh? That'll make a difference.
We can reduce our pumpage in both places, Potrero and the river. We're using less water now, and we don't know exactly why, but people are using less water. And we are just finishing the annual report, and we went down from last year. Not a lot, but like 100 acre-feet or something like that. And we're still working on finishing the report, but it's going down. We have the golf course that's not being irrigated now, the Potrero and the Palo Duro, and Keno Springs didn't pump for more than half of the year. So that's probably helping the system.
Okay, and that brings up another question. So I'm just looking at the collections here, and we across on the withdrawal fees, and they've gone down significantly over the last few years. And I guess I would ask Melissa, is that because we're just deadbeats here in Santa Cruz County and haven't been paying, or as far as you know, have we significantly dropped our water use that much?
So, Mr. Chair, I'll take a stab at this one. I believe the Santa Cruz AMA is just experiencing fewer withdrawals over the last several years.
Okay, because go ahead.
I was going to say we don't have a higher failure to file rate in the Santa Cruz AMA compared to any of the other AMAs. It's pretty much the same across the board. I think it's just the numbers that we're getting reported from the Santa Cruz AMA just happen to be lower.
Okay. That's interesting, and I'll have a comment on that a little bit later too when we come up on the call to the council. But
I got before we get away, I got one question I'd like to ask Alejandro.
Yeah.
Alejandro, you said you've been monitoring both affluent water that's entering into the United States. So I'm presuming that you're saying that the affluent water that's entering from the Mascareñas sewage plant area, you're also monitoring that at this time also?
No, what I meant to say is that we're monitor our wells, so we're keeping sure that there's nothing getting to our wells, but we're not monitoring the discharges in the river.
Okay, but you know the city's well aware of that affluent is coming in from that sewage area, right? Right. Yeah, so you're well aware of to keep an eye on it in the future, right?
Yeah. We're concerned with that because if something happens with those plants, we're going to get impacted.
Yeah, I'd heard some of their reservoirs or whatever you call them, their deal was out of commission, that they weren't working. They're just working on maybe half or less than half of capacity. So, I noticed it. Yeah, so one of the purification tanks or whatever you call them.
Okay.
But down there at the ranch, you know, at Sedgwick property, we can tell a difference in the quality of the water by the smell. I mean, we've quit drinking it, so none of us is growing extra hair or anything like that. So I'm not sure what the quality's doing, but the smell of it, and that is, you know, of the water that we're pumping, you can notice some significant difference in it since that water's been running down there.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, I was just curious whether anybody was keeping track of that.
Yeah, it's really hard to keep track of the flows on the river because we don't know exactly how they're operating that and how that's going.
Not to drag this out, but like there at Nogales, where it comes into the arroyo there and then goes down to the sewage plant. They keep a good eye on that, and when it needs more chlorination or that, they do so, right? To try to keep it purified coming across the border.
Yeah, that's what they do. It's just.
I'm wondering this other one, would that, if that came a significant problem, would that be a possibility of doing that there also?
Could be. I don't know, but I think the concern is that they keep growing in that area, and they're opening a new, what they call peripheral, or the new connection there that's going to trigger more homes in that area. So it's going to be.
Well, that's the reason. I mean, like I say, I don't want to drag this out, but that's my concern. That I don't see it getting any better. If anything, it's going to get worse. There's going to be more of a effluent coming across than what there is now as they expand over there.
Yeah, if it's a good effluent, that's okay. But if not, then it's a problem.
You know, let me just ask on there for something in the future. And Alejandro, you probably know that is any kind of reaction to that or anything, any action that needs to be taken on there, would that be through the, I'd imagine it'd be through the IBWC, through the treaty minute entry?
Yes, I think you're right. I think one of the issues that we need to raise on the citizen forum that IBWC has is that discharge from Mexico coming across and the potential to impact our wells here, and what actions are they going to take to make sure that the quality is there.
I mean, we're happy to see the water come. You know, we're happy to get that water coming across the line and down to our area that help the aquifer. But you know, the other side of that whole story is what kind of effect it's going to have on the water itself.
Yeah, it is. It is an issue.
Yeah, and I would say let's keep that in mind, because I mean that is relatively new there on that OSO drainage, and like you said, they're building a lot out there, and it's gonna, you know, I mean Ron's wells will be the first ones to take a hit there, but then it's gonna go down to the city. So I mean it might be something where, you know, we got to bend the ear of IBWC, but yeah, let's keep that in mind. And then if we don't have anything else on that, let's move on.
Thank you. Mark, are you there?
Yeah, you there, Amanda?
Good afternoon.
Is Melissa done, and are we ready to move on with the management plans?
Yes, we're ready to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Kennedy, can you go to the next slide? Awesome, thank you. Good afternoon, my name is Amanda Long, and I am the program coordinator. I am going to update you on the current status of the fourth management plans and the current development and drafting process of the fifth management plans. So I'll start with the fourth management plans. So the general process for the developments of the management plans is along the top of this slide. We did set a goal to complete the remaining fourth management plans by the end of 2020, and we have reached that goal. All of the fourth management plans have been completed and adopted. Prescott and Tucson were both adopted in 2014 and 2013, and Phoenix was adopted in the spring of last year, now at the end of last year, and as you know, Santa Cruz was adopted in the fall of last year. The conservation requirements will go into effect at least 2 years after the plan is adopted. So the conservation programs for the fourth management plans adopted last year, including Santa Cruz, will be effective in January 2023. Next slide, please. So I will talk about the fifth management plans next. Thank you. So while completing the fourth management plans, we have been concurrently working on the development of the fifth management plans. Last year, we developed the management plan work group, which is the public stakeholder process for the development of the fifth management plans. And we are actively meeting with the sector subgroups to develop concepts for the fifth management plan. When we complete the subgroup meetings, we do plan on spending the bulk of the rest of this year drafting the fifth management plans. And we have already begun that process, but we'll be sequencing the drafting in a way that allows for some of these subgroup discussions with stakeholders and the regulated community to continue within the subgroups over the next several months. So the goal is to complete the drafting this year and spend 2022 promulgating the plans, and then with the goal of the plans becoming effective in 2025. So we introduced this 5NT concepts page at a previous GOAC meeting. The concepts page was developed as a way to document our progress for the VIF management plans, and also as an easier way for stakeholders to see what concepts and proposals we have discussed in the VIF management plan subgroups. So this page is organized by subgroup, and it includes the concepts and proposals that have been discussed, as well as any relevant graphics, dashboards, and then links to any relevant meetings. So I encourage you to look through this dashboard for any topics that you might be interested in. And if there are topics that the council would like us to cover in a little bit more detail, any specific proposal or subgroup, we'd be happy to plan that for the next meeting. Thank you, Kennedy. So as I mentioned, while finishing our discussions in the subgroups, we will be concurrently working on the drafting of the VIF management plans. So as the management plans include quite a bit of overlap and the structure overall is consistent for all the AMAs, we will be drafting the VIF management plans simultaneously for all of the AMAs. Starting the drafting process now will also allow time for AMA customization that will be necessary to capture the unique aspects of each of the AMAs within the plans. So we'll be looking for guidance from you and from members of the regulated community who know the AMA well to determine where we should focus the customization. And when we complete our conversations within the individual subgroups, sorry, back one more, Kennedy. I was just going to say, the conversations with the subgroups, we will take a break from those subgroups to concentrate on drafting the plans. And then as necessary, we'll return to those subgroups to review the draft regulatory language that we've developed. Next slide. So I just wanted to end with the upcoming work group meetings that are listed on the slide here. We do not quite yet have a full work group meeting planned, but all of our subgroup meetings will be updated on the VIF management plan website as well as on the ADW public calendar. So we would like to welcome and encourage your participation in these subgroup meetings and encourage you also to review the relevant information on the concepts page. And with that, I'd like to thank you for your time and attention today. And my contact information is here, and I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
I got a question both for you, and if I can jump back also to Melissa, the two of you could answer this together. That $287,000 we got sitting idle right now for conservation programs, is that pretty secure, or should we be burying that in our backyard someplace? Because I remember before we had quite a bit of money sitting there, and the state kind of tapped into some of it. But is this money secure, or is this something that we need to think about utilizing before it does start disappearing?
That fund is pretty secure. It's up to y'all if you want to have any project and submit anything. Then it's all that money is for the Santa Cruz AMA.
Well, that answers it. But I mean, I'm concerned that if we don't utilize it, is the state department, would they consider utilizing themselves someplace else?
Oh no, that's in a separate account. That money just continues to build up, so the department doesn't tap into that. Sorry, I misunderstood your question.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
And you know what, Ron, and I'm thinking about that, and hopefully, Alejandro, are you still there? Oh, I don't hear him. Is we might put that as an agenda item, not for necessarily any action, but for discussion at our next meeting, as we do have this money here. We've looked at some of the restoration that Borderlands is doing. The city's got its project. Hopefully by the next meeting, something will be drafted up pretty well for the city project. But we might look at, everybody think about needs on this, and how we might want to spend that to get the most bang for the buck. Or maybe we just want to sit on it and keep it for, down the road. But I think if the GUAC can think about that, and maybe we'll put that as an agenda item at the next, for discussion at the next meeting.
I would like to see that. You know, I think it's very important. I've gave it a lot of thought about it, about what we've done in the past and what we're doing at the present and what could be done in the future. And I've got several concerns about it. So I'd like to see that as an agenda item in the near future.
Okay, great. Right. Amanda, anything else?
That was it for my presentation, if there aren't any other questions.
I have a question, if I may. As you may know, we are going through a process of designation of pure water supply, the renewal of that designation. And one concern that I have is the rules for the safe yield or the consistency with the goal of the AMA. And probably, I don't know how that's going to be addressed at the end of the fit management plan, because I think the rules got suspended and they were adopted, and I don't know if the department has any plans for that or not.
I'm not sure that I exactly know the answer to that question.
Okay,
I'm not sure if you do, Kyle, but I can follow up with you for sure on that.
Okay, please.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, Alejandro, let us do some research on that and we can get something out to you. It's not exactly the AMA section, so we'll have to talk to a few other people here.
Yeah, it's kind of unique for Santa Cruz because the consistency with the goal is, and Ron and Mark, probably you know how many meetings and years we spent trying to figure that out, and when we were kind of ready, the governor suspended all the rules adoption, so I don't know exactly where we are now.
Yeah, let's do, and let's get that so we have an update on that at the next meeting, because you're right, is that something we spent a lot of time you know, kind of wondering about where within the standard deviations we would go and all that kind of stuff. But we are going to need to get that, particularly with the fifth management plan coming up. We are going to need to get something a little more definite and back on the table. So if we could get an update from the department of where that stands at the next meeting, that would be great.
Yeah, definitely. I've added it to the notes, so it'll be on the next agenda.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and that actually covers some of the call to the council. I've got, and I should ask, Amanda, you said yours is wrapped up, your report right there?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so on the, you know, we've had a couple remarks from the council. I'm going to just throw in another one just to be thinking about a little bit. I've been attending some of the ag work groups at the state level, and particularly the best management practices have been sitting in on those, though they apply mostly to the Pinal AMA and not to us down here in agriculture. But this is personally, I kind of want to keep tabs on that just to see, because what we're seeing here, and that's why I was a little surprised at the reduction in water use, because agriculture here seems to be getting a shot in the arm. There's you know, more land being put under cultivation. It's being done a little more intensively. We've got kind of a new thing with you know, some greenhouse agriculture in the AMA here now too. So you know, agriculture isn't dead here. It's you know, it seems to be going through a bit of a renaissance, and I think we're going to be okay with just, you know, under the rules we have, and people seem to be working within their rights. And we don't have a lot of real marginal land under a water right. It's all pretty good. But that's just something, I don't know if we'll ever need those best management practices applications down here or not, but I just kind of want to be keeping tabs on it. Do we have anything else from the council? Any comments, any wishes, anything they'd like to see?
Nothing from me, Mark.
Nothing right now. Maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll give you a call. I just thought of something that works.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, don't feel insulted if I don't answer.
All right.
And then call Alejandro.
Yeah, he bugged him a little bit. No?
Yeah,
Well,
right.
guys, I just
Call him.
want
Do your best. Do your best Lee Story imitation and call Alejandro. And do we have anything, Eric, in the public? You got any more comments?
No more comments. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
This is Luke Cole. I haven't spoken up yet. I'm with Sonoran Institute, and I just wanted to let folks know that toward the end of 2020, we released our Santa Cruz River, Upper Santa Cruz River assessment, our Living River reports that are available. I think many of you would have received it either through email or some folks got hard copies. But it includes some groundwater data and surface water data, as well as some of the more cultural aspects of the river. So if that's something that I could pop into a chat for people or email for distribution, I would gladly do that. We have one that's much more copy table and one that's much more data reporting.
Okay, and do you have that, is that available up on your website, or if we go to your website, can we ask you specifically for it?
Yeah, I think if you just search, if you go to the Sonoran Institute website or even just Google Sonoran Institute Living River, the most recent years will come up first. It's from, it includes Nogales Wash, and it goes to the Amato Bridge.
Is that something that we can put in the chat box?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Let me do that for you all right now.
Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. And before we turn off, we'll see if.
Mark, if I make a comment.
Yeah, Alejandro.
I just give you the bad news. I got appointed by the governor to be in the UAC.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so
Congratulations.
I got it about 2 weeks ago, and so I sent the paperwork. I haven't queued back, but I think the appointment is in. Okay,
and obviously, I'm going to say, obviously, you're going to be the I guess, hold the city's portfolio, right?
Let me ask you this, not to stir up any dust or anything, but we're a 5-person committee, right? 5 people in the committee, right? And
yeah,
I thought we was just notified when we started this meeting that Joel Kramer had been also appointed to it. Is that right?
Yes. So with Joel Kramer, that makes 5.
Pardon?
Yeah, without Alejandro as 4, and then I guess Joel will be at, because this is a weird thing. We're sort of like the Lebanese parliament. Is everybody's got a constituency in here? I mean, there's ag, there's developer, there's the city.
No, but I know what I'm getting at. Maybe I'm not doing my math right.
Number.
There's Gary, there's Dan, there's Mark, myself, and Joel. Joel would have made 5.
Yeah, no, I think Dan. I think Dan is not on anymore.
Oh, he's not on anymore. Yeah, I know. I just got reappointed. Gary, did you get reappointed? All right.
I did. Yes.
Yeah. So maybe that's where the one extra is. Maybe Dan's not going to be on it anymore.
Okay.
But anyway, I'm very
Yeah.
happy to see you on, Alejandro. I think that's a great addition. Great addition.
Thank you.
Alejandro, when did you send in your oath of office? You said you signed and sent it in?
I sent it about 10 days ago.
Okay. We've been having some difficulties with receiving those at boards and commissions, so I just wanted to check to make sure.
Yeah, I told Kennedy that I'd signed and sent mine in about 3 days ago also, so should be on the move someplace.
Perfect. Well, we will
Okay.
await those, and then I'll send out a copy once the director has signed them.
Okay, great. Then we'll have a party, right?
Right. It's the same old people. We've just watched each other get older and older.
That's why I'm not coming on screen. I just finally got Back to the Future and got me a tablet. And I was having a virtual meeting with somebody, and they said, "Please, I saw your face. Please turn it off. Please turn it off." I thought I'd give you guys a break.
Okay. Are we? We said, do we have anything else that has to come in from the department, the public? Did we get that information from Sonoran Institute? Did that pop up in the chat?
Yes, it did.
Okay, great.
And we have nothing else from the department other than to thank you all for being here. It's always enjoyable to meet with you guys.
Thank you.
Do we have an idea when the next meeting will possibly be called?
Usually it's somewhere around quarterly to 6 months. So depending on what we have on the agenda, it could be May or June, or maybe towards fall. We'll see.
Okay, just was curious.
By then we'll have a good wet winter, and all of our problems will be over.
Right.
You're saying we can do away with the DWR? Is that what you're saying, Mark?
Yeah, we did. You know, we could start by just withholding our withdrawal fees, I guess. Huh?
You guys got to hire us first before you get rid of the DWR.
Okay, if that's it, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
And I will at this point, well, you know what, we'll do it this way. Do we hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll move for adjournment.
Second.
Have a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. So I guess at 10 after 3, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wish everybody a safe trip, but we're all virtual now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.